concerns with implementation of digital identification unfounded. International drug syndicate crippled, drugs worth more than 15 million ringgit seized. Good evening and Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm Otto Othman. Now, a total of 121 Malaysians stranded in the Laokaing, northern Myanmar, following unrest in the region, were evacuated and brought home today. They are aged between 20s and 50s, and most are victims of job scams in northern Myanmar. They were flown home to Malaysia via a special Air Asia flight from Kunming, China, and it included an Indonesian citizen who had also been stranded in Laokaing. Deputy Foreign Minister Dato' Muhammad Alamin said that 121 were among 128 Malaysians stranded in Laokaing following the civil war which broke out at the end of October. The other 7 could not be brought home for several reasons, but the government will keep abreast with the latest development and carry out further evacuations.
Dua orang warga negara kita minta dikecualikan ataupun menarik diri daripada untuk dipulangkan. Kemudian seorang lagi kita dapat dijangkit tetapi berada di luar kawasan, iaitu di kawasan jauh lebih 1000 km daripada kawasan sempadan. Dan semasa proses evakuasi berlaku, ada 3 orang yang sepatutnya berada di sempadan pada masa yang telah pun ditetapkan tidak berada di sempadan itu, iaitu pada hari semalam. Dan seorang lagi berada di sempadan dan sepatutnya ikut tetapi terkandas akibat individu tersebut mempunyai rekod jenayah di negara China. Jadi dianya tidak dibenarkan masuk ke negara China.
Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim today registered with the National Digital Identity or Digital ID, making him the first person in the country to have the Digital ID facility. Digital ID is a digital form of identification and verification of individuals that will benefit the public and private sectors in verifying the identity of users when carrying out online transactions. Without replacing the MyCard system, Digital ID is a platform that is trusted and secure, as well as facilitates online identity verification to avoid identity fraud when carrying out online transactions. With Dato' Sri Anwar, who is also the Finance Minister, having registered with the Digital ID, it is set to boost confidence of the people in the safety and transparency of the system. On 21st November, the Premier announced an immediate allocation of 80 million ringgit to the Research and Development R&D agency, Mimos Berhad, to speed up the implementation of digital ID and empower the digital transformation, as well as develop digital initiatives specifically involving dealings with the government. It was reported to have said that the digital ID was also an initial step towards allocating targeted subsidies and other facilities by government departments and the private sector. In a related development, Dato' Sri Anwar stressed that the people's concerns with the implementation of the National Digital Identity or Digital ID, such as personal and banking records being leaked and chips implanted into the body of individuals, are completely unfounded. Dato' Sri Anwar said that when talking about digital transformation, the people must accept the fact that the country should advance in line with the current development, including the use of technology.
Kebimbangannya apa? Takut isu-isu personal. Maksudnya bank negara tidak lepaskan rekod personal perbankan pribadi, tak masuk. Jadi yang itu dikawal. Kemudian juga kata kononnya ada SIM card tu masuk dalam badan, chip tu dan sebagainya. Itu semua itu dia tengok banyak sangat filem-filem Hollywood ini.
The Premier said that before making any comments, one should listen first to the explanations from the Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation, MOSTI, and the Ministry of Communications and Digital, KKD, regarding the digital ID, so as not to affect the people's confidence. While stressing that the government won't force anyone to register with the digital ID for now, Datuk Sri Anwar, however, encouraged all civil servants to do so, as the Rahmah Cash Aid, STR, and all forms of targeted subsidies will be channeled through the digital ID. The process of issuing the Not to Land NTL order and the Standard Operating Procedure SOP used for tourists to Malaysia will remain and will not be compromised, despite improvement to the immigration facilities under the Visa Liberation Plan being implemented from today. Immigration Director General Datuk Roslin Juso said this refutes allegations by certain parties that the Visa Liberation Plan would lead to procedures for foreign tourists entering Malaysia becoming simpler and more lax. He explained that under this plan, the process of entering Malaysia and the existing SOP will still be implemented. The procedures, among others, require tourists entering Malaysia to possess return flight tickets and hotel reservations or a place to stay throughout their stay in Malaysia.
Jabatan Imigresen telah mewujudkan pasukan khas bagi memantau pergerakan keluar pelancong-pelancong asing yang keluar masuk, terutama bagi mereka yang mendapat kemudahan visa percuma ni selama 30 hari, dan kita buat secara bulanan. Pemantauan itu dibuat di bulanan. Selewat-lewatnya setiap 14 hari kita akan laporkan berapa ramai pelancong tersebut telah keluar.
The Royal Malaysian Customs Department, JKDM, crippled an international drug trafficking syndicate and seized 260 kilograms of ketamine worth 15.6 million ringgit on 21st November. Acting on information, the enforcement team confiscated 5 blue-collared barrels abandoned at the end of a road in a residential area in Pandan Indah, Kuala Lumpur.
Di hasil pemeriksaan menjumpai serbuk putih disyaki dadah berbahaya jenis ketamin yang berat kasarnya 260 kg bernilai 15.6 juta ringgit. Di modus operandi, siasatan awal berdasarkan label nombor rujukan di tong-tong tersebut mendapati dagangan ini masuk menggunakan laluan udara dari lapangan terbang Ahmedabad, Gujarat, India, dan tiba di KLIA sebagai destinasi terakhir.
The consignment was declared as chemicals, which did not require an import permit from the local authorities. The quantity of drugs seized is enough for 1.3 million drug abusers. Following that, the customs are looking for 2 main suspects of the case to assist investigations. The case is being investigated under Section 39B, subsection 1A of the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. Bursa Malaysia Berhad has launched the IR4U program, a comprehensive program to support and enhance the standards and capabilities of investor relation or IR practices, thus raising the visibility and investability of Malaysian listed companies. Bursa Malaysia Chief Executive Officer Dato' Muhammad Umar Swift said the IR4U program provides listed companies with the tools and resources they need to proficiently communicate their value proposition to investors, highlight the company's investability, and cultivate strong relationships with the investing community.
So many factors to be considered in determining fair.
It will encompass the IR4U portal, a comprehensive online resource to serve as a centralised hub. Here you'll find webinars, articles and guidebooks covering the latest trends in the IR space, as well as various aspects of effective stakeholder management and IR relevant to PLCs and IR practitioners.
In addition to the IR4U portal, Bursa Malaysia will release 2 handbooks entitled Fundamentals of IR and Applications of IR. The fundamentals of IR delineates the role and responsibilities of an IR officer in today's competitive landscape, while the applications of IR assists IR practitioners in translating their knowledge into simple, practical applications.
In the next chapters, we illustrate
Petroleum Nasional Berhad, or Petronas, and its petroleum arrangement contractors recorded 19 exploration discoveries and 2 exploration appraisal successes, contributing over 1 billion barrels of oil equivalent of new resources for Malaysia this year. The national oil company said the achievement was the result of an intensified exploration program pursued in the last few years, which saw the drilling of 25 wells, the highest number of exploration wells drilled in a single year since 2015. It noted that more than half of the discoveries were made in the Sarawak Basin, primarily in 2 clusters within the Balingian and West Lakonia geological provinces. Petronas Senior Vice President of Malaysia Petroleum Management, Muhammad Fairoz Aznan, said the significant exploration success validated its belief that there is more potential within the matured Malaysia's basins, using new 3D seismic data and the latest software technologies to detect deeper hydrocarbon potentials better. He added the strong support from producing states as well as the federal government has been crucial in the success of the country's resource-based growth. Microsoft has unveiled plans to invest £2.5 billion over the next 3 years to expand data centers for artificial intelligence AI across the United Kingdom. Now, the tech giant said it is committing to more than double the footprint of its UK data centers. This will involve bringing more than 20,000 advanced graphics processing units, or GPUs, which are used for machine learning and the development of AI models, to the UK by 2026. Microsoft said it plans to expand sites in London and Cardiff and is also looking at potential expansion into Northern England. The US firm said the investment will help with training more than 1 million people for the AI economy, while it also pledged to support an AI safety and research efforts alongside the government and universities, reported PA Media. Investment comes months after Microsoft criticized UK regulators and lobbied the government earlier this year after its proposed deal to buy computer games giant Activision Blizzard was blocked. However, the Competition and Market Authority later approved the case after Microsoft came back with changes. And moving on to some foreign news. At least 29 people had been killed today in the initial hours after a truce between Israel and Hamas expired and hostilities resumed. There were several bombardments across Palestine after 7 a.m. local time, with the fatalities include women and children. Sirens warning of potential missile fire sounded around several communities near Gaza in the hour after the fighting resumed, and Israeli authorities said they were restarting security measures in the area, including closing schools. The Israel military also confirmed its jets were striking Hamas targets in Gaza. Despite the resumption of fighting, talks between Qatari and Egyptian mediators were ongoing. Other world leaders and aid groups had also sought an extended pause. During the 7-day truce, dozens of hostages were freed in exchange for Palestinian prisoners, and more aid entered Gaza, where about 80% of the population is displaced and grappling with shortages of food, water, and other essentials. And now we move on to our next segment of the bulletin, On the Table. Over to you, Mohana.
Good evening and welcome to the program. Tonight we will be discussing the recently announced 30-day visa-free entry for tourists from China and India, which begins today. In the studio to discuss this is Mr. Yuzaidi Udanis, Chairman of the Consortium of Inbound Tourism Alliance. Welcome to the program, Mr. Yuzaidi.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, let's start off by perhaps you could share with us what are the implications of this initiative. Are we expecting a huge influx of tourists immediately?
I think, Mohana, the announcement by the Prime Minister, it gives a significant impact on developments in the Malaysian tourism landscape. we expect it will be more. But looking at the statistics, we had our numbers, for example, roughly about nearly 500,000 Chinese tourists already visited Malaysia from January to June, I was told. And also nearly 300,000 for Indians, nationals visiting Malaysia. Compared to 2019, which we had 1.5 million of Chinese visited Malaysia, and also nearly half a million from Indians. So therefore, a lot of works need to be done. But with this announcement, I am so sure that there will be more influx, and we're hoping to get a few categories for those businessmen from Chinese coming here for visit for a weekend golf. So these are some of the new developed new segment that we should expect. Then this will definitely increase our tourist arrival.
Okay. Now, assuming there will be an influx pretty soon, we need to be prepared with the right facilities, with the right resources. Now, what are the consortium's additional preparation for these additional tourist arrivals?
Definitely, we would like to follow whatever instruction from the Jabatan Immigration Malaysia. We cannot compromise the national securities, even though we provide the visa free. Of course, we cannot compromise the national securities.
Of course.
Therefore, we would like to, normally we had a lot of engagement with our counterparts in China for them to prepare what kind of documentation required upon arrival in terms of, for example, confirmed written air tickets, hotels, and everything. So this information, the information need to be given to our counterparts. So our counterparts, the travel agents in China, can relate to their customers and prepare for arrival here in Malaysia.
So
these are some of the.
It's not a blanket open kind of no procedure. There are procedures in place, and they need to be as prepared as us.
Oh yes, okay, of course, definitely. We don't want them to come here
and have issues.
And prepare all the issues, overstay, other illegal activities. Of course, they need to come here. If they want to come here, it has to be their tourism purposes. Therefore, they require hotels and all these things. But of course, they also have to fill up the new application forms. They call it Malaysia Digital Arrival Form, which they need to fill up before they arrive here. These are some of the procedures which we need to relay to our counterparts in China.
Right, but it is easier for them to. We are trying to make it as easy as possible.
We want to make it easier, and we're looking forward for the seamless customers' journey from China and especially from India.
Okay. Now, tourists from China are also already enjoying visa-free travel into Thailand, right? Until February next year, I believe. Now, should we be concerned about this?
Well, Mohana, China has this, I think roughly about 46 countries provide this visa-free to Chinese tourists to
46 countries in the world.
We are not the only one.
Right.
And Indian, they have about 30 countries which they can just go in without any application of visa. So tourism industry is a very, very competitive industry.
Right.
Therefore, we need to make sure that whatever we provide the facilities, it must be seamless. And this facilities of visa-free, definitely it will create a boost to our industry. But by in conditions that we need to be ready. We need to make sure that from A to Z, you must be ready in terms of the immigrations, in terms of the arrival, in terms of facilities, the Malaysia airports, the entry point, in terms of the hotels, the tour operators, and in terms of providing new products. You can't just remain the old products. We need to create experience tours, which the Chinese love it. They want to learn.
Can you perhaps tell me what's the experience?
For example, initially the Chinese will come here in groups. They go here, they just go on touch and go points. But now they want to have to experience activities here in Malaysia. For example, fishing. The last we had our fishing events in Rompin. We received more than 500 fish anglers from China, and they spend a lot of money.
So are these tourists coming in wanting to experience some local cultural activities, or are they coming specifically for those events? sense?
So in line of this sustainable tourism and also the demand of experience tours, especially from among the millennials groups.
Yes.
They're looking for experience.
Okay.
They come here, they're not just for the selfie in front of the building, in front of KLCC, in front of Batu Cave. They want to experience the local culture, local foods. That's why we are providing, we are giving a lot of trainings to our members so that they are prepared for new demand. This is a new demand.
So the trends are changing.
Yeah, they're changing.
The tourists, the kind of tourists that come.
Definitely after the COVID, it has changed a lot.
Does it have something to do with COVID? Is it because we were also confined for such a long time and we want to experience new things? Is there some data on this, on why the trends are changing?
It has started before COVID, but after the COVID, after the pandemic, it has increased in terms of demand of experience. Not only Malaysia, the worldwide.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. People want to have experience. People want to learn how to do pizza in Italy. They don't just want to go to Milan or whatever. They always want to learn pizza. Same here, I noticed there's a lot of demand how to do teh tarik. And how to cook nasi lemak. I just came back from a World Travel Market in London. There's a lot of demands on, you want to learn how to cook local dish such as nasi lemak, which is getting very popular in UK. So these are the experience that we need to provide, the tour operator need to provide. It's not just normal packages, but they want to experience that. We have a lot of products. We have jungle, the oldest rainforest in the world. And this is a good lung cleansing for our Chinese tourists, which especially from Beijing, they had a lot of pollution and everything. So they come here just to have a fresh air and also experience in our rainforest.
Now, let me go back to speaking about the influx of the tourists. Currently, China is facing a pneumonia outbreak. Should we be concerned about this, at least for the short term?
Yeah, any outbreak is our concern. We depend, our tourism industry depends on the human movement from travel from point A to point B. That's our business.
Correct.
So if there's any outbreak, it will definitely defeat the movement. So therefore, but we are actually following whatever instructions, whatever recommendation or advice from our Ministry of Health. They are the experts. But looking at the feedback for what I received from our counterparts in China, this matter of is not going to be a pandemic. It's more on seasonal, especially during the winter, where the respiratory disease, or what they call it, problems having, especially among the children and also the old people. We in our tourism industry actually are ready for it. We have prepared. We have been practicing since during the pandemic, so we are prepared for all this what they call it, hiccups on this.
Okay. Now, this initiative is seen as a preamble to Visit Malaysia Year 2026. Now, it's a well-known fact that there are other countries needing a visa to enter Malaysia. So, do you think it's a good idea to expand this scheme to other countries?
We love to have all the visa-free, but of course, we cannot compromise their national securities. I'm sure the immigration has a better say on this. But in terms of our tourists, 70% of our tourists are actually from ASEAN, so they don't require any visa.
That's right.
And also, of course, the main big market, of course, China and India, which have been addressed for giving the free facilities, the visa facilities. But we cannot afford to ignore other countries like, Russia, even Africa, just, the Algeria, which they spend a lot of money to visit here in Malaysia. So, we have to make sure that we don't put all our eggs in one basket.
That's right.
We need to make sure our promotion is all in order and create this kind of experience for them to attract the high-end tourists in Malaysia.
I was going to ask about that. Are we looking at different segments of tourists? Are we only targeting the high-end tourists who spend a lot more? Or are we looking at across the board, the backpackers, the mid-range tourists and the high-level tourists?
Of course, we need everybody to come here, but again, we have the capacity. We have, we need to make sure that our capacity are right in numbers. We don't want to be over tourism. Over tourism, there will come a lot of problems. The town council having difficulty to clean up the city, everything, and we have a lot of social problems, issues, everything. We want it to be balanced, and I'm so sure that our numbers are now correct numbers. We don't want to be based on numbers, we want them to come here and to spend money.
That's right.
The tourist receipt are actually very important. Not just the numbers, but the tourist receipts are very important, so that we can spread out the whole nation, and this will enhance our economy.
Okay, and speaking about that, first impressions count. On this score, KLIA has had issues, prolonged issues with the Aero train. What are your thoughts on this? And
definitely, the old equipments, everything need to be replaced. This is actually normal. Even though in Dubai and everything, in Dubai airport, in Singapore airport, they keep on replacing. Perhaps because of the COVID, there's some hiccups, some pause on that. I'm sure that the Malaysia airports are pushing on these facilities. At the moment, we have to do whatever we have now. But again, it requires a lot of communications. Once the tourists arrive, there's there must be some instructions, some usher to show them, okay, this way the directions to go to the bus or to go to the luggage area, everything. So a lot of
believe that's already in place. Actually, I did see all of this. I recently travelled and I saw many ushers helping out. So I think hopefully the issues of the Aero train are sorted really quickly. Now, what are your thoughts on Malaysia's current branding and positioning? Is there anything else that we can do to change or to align to something else or expand on our branding and positioning?
Okay, number one branding from Malaysia is Malaysia Truly Asia. It's a very strong brand. The only thing we need to be more refreshed, giving a little bit some inputs on what is there, Malaysia Truly Asia. Is it experience? Is it culture? Is it, what kind of, we have a lot of products in Malaysia. If in terms of perceptions, if it depends, if you ask anybody, Malaysia, it's very blurred because everything's here. It's very, I don't know whether it's fortunate or unfortunate, everything's here. We have mountains, we have jungle, we have all culture, we have everybody here.
Fortunate,
the Chinese, Indian, the Malay, all kind of people here. So compared to Thailand, when we just mentioned Thailand, it was, we just imagine Saudi Cup, there's one branding. But Malaysia, we have a lot. So, but we have to maximize this branding, Malaysia Truly Asia. And we hope that we can have a better outshoot from this branding.
Okay. Now, Mr. Yuzaidi, you mentioned over-tourism earlier, the concept of over-tourism. I think this is not spoken about so much. Could you explain a little bit about this concept and how do we know that we've reached a level of over-tourism, or just hypothetically?
Even though we want numbers, but of course we need to make sure that in line with ESG, the tourism sustainable practices are there. You don't want it to be over capacity. We don't want it to be over flooded. A lot of tourist destinations, they're having these problems. That's why some of the cities in Europe, they don't want any more tourists. They don't want any more selfies. Certain places, they don't want any selfies activities or tourism activities. So therefore, here in Malaysia, we are so lucky. We have spread out. We have a lot of products spread out we have from Sabah, Sarawak, from the Perlis. Even now, Perlis is getting very popular. And Pahang, you're talking about Pahang, it's a huge state with a lot of activities. So we need to spread out. We need to spread out on all the tourists, not only in Kuala Lumpur, not only in certain cities, but we need to spread out. With that, I think I'm sure that with the numbers of our tourist capacity now, we can improve our arrival and of course in terms of economy. Tourists don't want to go to over-tourism
places which have over-tourism.
Can you imagine you want to go to a beach? It's full of you feel uncomfortable. If you go to Langkawi, it's just nice, relaxing. You can enjoy the atmosphere. That's what we want. We want to maintain, but of course we want the numbers, but make sure that we got the tourist receipt, good numbers on tourist receipt.
Mr. Yuzaidi, thank you so much for your time today and for enlightening us and giving us more information about the system, the visa on arrival for China and India. And we wish the consortium all the best.
Thank you, Mona.
Thank you. And that wraps up On the Table tonight. It's now back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Mohana, and also for today's guests. And that wraps up this evening's Malaysia Tonight. Do tune in to World Today coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. I'm Otto Othman. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant evening.